How you doing, family? This will be movie number 2 in lecture series 2. Um, and I'm going to pick right up where I left off. We're still making sausage, folks. People, this flesh vehicle here, this flesh vehicle combo, this thing here, this is like, I would say, relative to where we probably will be in another million years or so. Uh, I figured it's worth bringing up the point that if you logically think outward, where we in keeping in with the same trajectory that we're going in right now, coming from goo to being what we are now, or the vehicle that we're using that to extrude ourselves into existence right now, this is the vehicle we're using. But that's not to say that that's the vehicle we'll be using a million years from now. You got to expand your vision, to the possibilities of what we could be doing a million years from now. It's a whole different ball game. You gotta kind of get your head around that. If you look at the trajectory of where we have come from, and the Star Wars, Star Trek. I mean, it's kind of writing is right on the wall. I mean, there's some episodes in Star Trek that show other versions of human being combinations and how they evolved. Star Trek, I would say, is even more filled with possibilities than even Star Wars. So keep that in mind. And now let's come back to today. We're still making sausage. Okay? So controlling the ability of the microcosmic spirit to control this vehicle flesh thing right here with all of this AI and automatic stuff that's running this thing here. This is not going to be easy. I mean, you got to keep in mind, Jesus Christ and John the Baptist and all the other guys that were, who may have been ex-men of their time or ex-people of their time, we're still making sausage, folks. You coming up with just rare people like a Jesus Christ or a John the Baptist or this one or that one or what they call Hermes, upon which the whole concept of hermetic seals was created. Hermes was a great person of his time, which was, I would call it, ex-person of his time. We're still making sausage here, folks. You can keep your head around that. Now, why am I saying that? Because in all this that I'm teaching here, one of the things I want to bring up about this flesh vehicle, training this flesh vehicle, and considering the fact, especially if you're a person of color, African American in particular in America, we're 300 years behind. Okay, we're thousands of years ahead of certain other human being types, in that people of color have been in existence longer than any other peoples on the planet. So we're ahead in that respect. But in terms of coming to America and the whole stripping away of culture and intelligence and education and everything, the whole chattel enslavement process, and now we're coming up from that. We're still making sausage, folks. And African Americans were thrown behind. This is my concept. We were thrown behind because of that whole enslavement process. We're thrown behind. We're playing catch up. So we don't have no time to be jiving around. We got to get it together. Okay? That means education primo. number one. And that's just for the sake of learning the language. It ain't about learning to go work for nobody. It's about learning the language so that you can get the rest of this information that's coming out, this knowledge, because knowledge is power. In order for you to get the knowledge, you have to have a language base. You have to understand intellectually. You have to be, come on up. Let the barbarism go. Let the brute mentality go. That's that gangster crap that they got you all worshiping, gangs and jail and prison and all that. Stop that. It's time to let all that childish things go and come back up to the intellectual level that we were meant to be. You know, this is what we're meant to be because we're doing it. Okay, so let's go ahead and grow up. Don't be afraid to grow up. It's okay. It's okay to put away childish things and grow up. Chest out, head up, shoulders back. You got to go take, like I said, you got to go take you some martial arts and some training so that you can hold your head up and stop being scared and going along to get along because you're scared. You got no skills to protect yourself. You're scared. So you're going along with the gangsters because you're scared. You got no skills. You don't know how to snap fingers, break necks. Go ahead and get you some martial arts training. Do what you got to do. But do whatever you got to do to make sure you're not doing nothing because you're scared. That is the worst way to learn anything. Get rid of the whole fear nonsense. That's got to go bye-bye. All right? You got to take some martial arts, do what you got to do, go to the gym, get yourself in shape, because this ain't no time to be jiving around. Okay? To do this kind of stuff, you got to have skills. Excuse me. And in order to get the skills, you can't be scared. Now, you won't need to be physical all the time, but you want to be able to protect yourself and your family and your people. And you want to train your young people to be able to stand up against the brutes, because the brutes, dime a dozen. Because you don't have to do no work to be a brute. That's why ISIS and the Confederates are going around killing and massacring up people, because it's easy. Anybody can do that. Anybody can do that. Hey, killing and massacring and bullying people. Look at that thing they got in the White House. He's as dumb as they come. And you know he ain't did no work. Look how stupid he is. I mean, because it's easy to be a brute. You ain't got to do no work. That's why they want to promote that. Those people that have been brutes forever, they love seeing this idiot in the White House. They actually think that they're doing something. They ain't doing nothing but giving the smart people a chance to get their game together. So when they come at you after they take this one apart, they're going to take him apart. Because he's as dumb as they come. They're going to eat him alive. And remember this day I told you. By the way, today's date is the 22nd of April. And I will make sure that that's posted up here from now on. Every movie I do from now on is going to have a date on it. So I want you to know when this information was put out. I don't want people to say they didn't know. All right, we're going to put this information out here. Okay? And we're going to date everything. Right now, they just got the Mueller report, and they just got all the goodies on Rump, the dummy. They're going to eat him alive because he's like the king of the brutes. And the brutes are finally got an idiot in the White House, and they think they're doing something slick. But it ain't going to work. Ain't going to work. We're going to eat him alive and put the fear of God in the rest of them. They think he actually got over. He ain't get over. We're going to get him. Don't worry about that. So the thing is, you're going to have your physical training and stuff together in order to be able to stand up and fight for righteousness and build and secure your space against the brutes. You got to have skills. You and all your family and your people, you got to have soldiers backing you up, just like the Nation of Islam. They don't mess with the Nation of Islam. They make sure they do their martial arts training and everything, and they let them know, you come at us, we're going to kill bricks. If you come at us incorrect, we're going to wipe some folks out. But we will, in other words, we're not going to offensively attack you just because we don't agree with what you do. But if you attack them, they're going to defend themselves. And it's going to be ugly. And they put the fear of God in the rest of them. I don't blame them. I don't agree with any of their religious beliefs. But I respect the tenacity of their ability to defend themselves, and to the point where everybody knows you don't mess with Nation of Islam. And that's what the rest of black people got to get. See, you got to fortify yourself and do it in a principled way so that people will understand. You mess with black folks, there will be some problems. I mean, we already have that aura around us, but that's not the point. The point is to do that, establish that, and now do what? Be better. Learn about mastering your beliefs. Get your beliefs together. And the other point I want to make about this whole process of learning, this process of believing is seeing, because this is the paradigm that we're switching up now. Is seeing is believing. When you see things, it does buttress and support your belief system. But believing and forming beliefs in your mind to bring about manifestation of the things you want is the most important thing. The seeing and believing part is just training. It's to show you that it can be done. But you need to focus more energy on believing, controlling your beliefs so that you can see the things you want in your environment. Now, that process, since especially for African Americans, we're playing catch up, we got to be 10 times more serious than everybody else, because everybody else got white supremacy supporting them. We don't have that. Okay? So we got to be 10 times better, you know, because we're playing catch up. We're playing catch up, you know? So in keeping with that concept, I wanted to help encourage you, and so you don't get discouraged by the lack of progress, tangible progress that you can see. In other words, you practicing controlling your beliefs, but you're not seeing nothing showing up. You got to understand, we're still making sausage, folks. We're still making sausage. Now, what does that mean? The way the subconscious machine works, you don't get results. You just start doing this now. The subconscious machine don't work like that. You see this thing I got right here, this cycle of manifestation thing here? You got to do that big time. And you got to do it for a long time before it begin to work, because the subconscious mind think you still jiving like you've been doing for your whole life. Half thinking, partially thinking, 2 minutes of thinking about something positive, and 99% of the time thinking BS. And believing and jumping from one thing to the next. Them subconscious machines saying, you ain't serious. So you got to do work. You're not going to be able to snap your finger like this and get no instant work out of the subconscious machine. It don't work like that. You've been jiving all your life. It's going to take anywhere from 3 to 5 years of doing this before you begin to start expecting any serious results. But you do the work anyway. You don't do it because you're going to get results immediately. You got to keep everything in context. We're playing catch up here, folks. We're playing catch up. We've been jiving. See, it's easy to be lazy and don't do no work and sit around and complain, oh, look, the white man this and the white man that. Do the work you're supposed to do because you need to be doing it. Stay righteous, live right, do right, and find joy in the fact that at least now you know who you are. You got to bask in that joy and let the faith in that and the belief in that and the understanding of that carry you through to the point where you could start to see results. You've been doing this cycle, of manifestation enough where you can finally start to see some results. But don't get discouraged and don't expect too much right away. Don't work like that. It don't work like that. Your beliefs have got to be some kind of serious, and you got to get some belief in the bank. You ain't got no belief in the bank yet. You ain't got no belief in the bank. You haven't been believing. You haven't been believing in a solid way like I'm teaching you now. You just starting to do it now. You got to get some belief in the bank. I'm sorry, it's just how it works. This is a turbine. You got to get it going. You got to get it going. You got to keep doing it. It's a cycle. You got to keep doing this. You got to keep feeding. You got to feed the cycle. You got to get some beliefs in the bank. It don't work like that. You just because I just tell you today, tomorrow you're gonna start hitting the lottery. No, don't do that to yourself. Don't have false expectations. Keep your expectations in sync with reality. Okay. Yes, you will. There's nothing you cannot do if you follow the rules for the proper period of time. You cannot, like Charles Hannell has said many times, you can't do 10 seconds or 10 minutes of meditation and then have another 24 hours of haphazard and slipshod thinking and expect to get results. It don't work that way. Don't work that way. You got to do work. But as you're doing this work, you derive strength and encouragement from the fact that now you know you're on the right track. You're in control. You're taking gradual control. Like I said, now I'm 63. I don't know how old you are, but it don't work that way. 63 years? If you're 63 and you haven't been doing this work, how in the world can you expect anything less than 3 to 5 years before you could start? If you're an X person, you can see it tomorrow. But if you were an X person, you'd already have been doing this already. So if you're not an X person, then you got to expect 3 to 5 years before you can start to see some serious results. But you do the motion, you go through the motion, you do the work. And don't have any false expectations, but derive joy from the fact that now you're on the path of righteousness. Most of us that were on the path of righteousness, we were just on it because we were glad to be on it, because we had some structure and some direction now. We understood at least the way some things work. We had something to go by. We were not completely and totally lost, buying into this Christian crap and this ghoulish drinking the blood and eating the body of Christ after they done murdered the man. I mean, it's insane. See, all of that foolish fairy tale nonsense and haphazard slipshod, that's over. Okay, and we were happy and just gleeful that thank God we had some structure and some direction and we were learning skills that nobody else had told us our whole life. And we could see our health getting better. We see our skin getting clearer. We feel our digestive systems working so much better. We're taking the martial arts. We're taking the Tai Chi classes. We're doing the training. We're learning, and we're feeling a change in controlling this flesh vehicle alone, learning to fast and make this flesh vehicle snap into control. We were happy just to be able to do that. We didn't know nothing about no believing in sin, and we didn't know nothing about none of that. We were just happy to be healthy and have our heads on straight finally, and not feeling totally lost and victims to white supremacy and the stupid Bible that they had the rest of us all scared. Oh, only 144 of us are gonna go when the world comes to an end. Oh, Jesus. Most of us didn't believe that crap anyway. But At least we were watching the rest of them panic and terror. And we were laughing at them. They look at them, they're crazy. You know, they actually believed that the white man would give them a book after he'd enslaved them for 300. It just don't make sense. You know, we knew that back when I was 22. That was 40 something years ago. A lot of catching up to do, folks. A lot of catching up to do. Okay? All right, so keep that in mind. Don't have false expectations in doing this work. You're on the path of righteousness. This will immediately help you to stop the drug addiction. This will immediately help you to stop the alcoholism. This will immediately help you to make those kind of minor changes in the scheme of training yourself spiritually and mentally so that you can start receiving hits from lottery and things like that, multi-millions of dollars. It'll easily help you to develop your own business. It'll easily help you with that. Because the discipline you're going to gain from doing these exercises alone is going to snap this vehicle into a level of control you've never experienced before. And you'll find, I found great joy in just being able to do that. And watching the rest of the people around me, we used to have a saying, we had to learn how to be in the world, but not of the world. Now, I've been living by that since I was 22. Okay? That's how I've been living. But I ain't know nothing about no secret. I ain't know nothing about it. I'm just adding that into my toolbox of other ways for me to hopefully become independently wealthy a lot sooner than later. But it's just one tool. I'm not depending on that. Got my own business going. I'm doing graphic design. I'm doing photography. I'm doing other things. Now I'll take this. I'll go lecture with this. Just as a social a pro bono thing that I'm doing to help people. Who knows what that'll bring. Okay? But don't have false expectations. Don't do that. Okay? And we talked about the importance of again, you will find joy and you will find encouragement in the fact that you now realize that as a microcosmic being, you are the only entity in a animate entity that is given the authority by God to manipulate the subconscious machine. As far as I know, there's no other another animated entity that can do that. Where I am right now, that's all I know. We're the only entity that can do this. Now, that's a lot of power. Okay, we talked about that. I talked about we're still making sausage. And there's a bunch of other things that come into play about this making sausage thing. There's on your personal level, then there's on a social level, there's on the humanity level, physical flesh vehicle in interfacing with the microcosmic infinite spirit, interfacing with a finite flesh vehicle, okay? There's a lot of dynamic that goes into that too, and I want to talk about that. Controlling this flesh vehicle is serious business. Very serious business, let me tell you. And I've been doing this since I was 22. And everything depends on your flesh vehicle. See, my flesh vehicle, the things that I'm experiencing, you may not be experiencing in your flesh vehicle. Everyone is different. There are certain basic elements of every flesh vehicle that may be basic, organic to flesh vehicle. But the mentality of each flesh vehicle is purely determined by your experiences and Dianetics. Dianetics, this book Dianetics here talks about that. However, this flesh vehicle is environmental, it's an environmental vehicle. Whatever has happened to it in the past in the environment is going to impact your ability to control it. That's why I brought in Dianetics for you guys. I want you to read it. Put that in your toolbox. Dianetics talks about how the subconscious mind can be impacted when you're knocked unconscious and people are saying things around you. You don't have to believe that, but it sure explains a whole lot of unbelievable stuff that people do, dysfunctional stuff that people are doing, and most people don't find answers to it. And this is the first time I've read anything that points to something that explains this stuff. And it absolutely makes a lot of sense. And a lot of it is testable. You can test it. That's why I say get into it, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I'm just going to leave it at that. The other thing I want to talk about is the importance of that Black history, African American history, plays on the ketchup. I talked about that extensively earlier. But the thing is, everything is in context, folks. But it's not an excuse for not excelling, and we don't need excuses. We got an Obama. We don't need excuses. We got Benjamin Banneker. We got the Tuskegee Airmen. Obama's the top of the heap. We got scientists that, forget it, that goes way back. We have created and invented things for this United States that have broken. I'm not going to take no nonsense from anybody telling us that we making excuses. That's BS. You making excuses, folks who are telling us to suck it up and get behind it and get over it and all this stuff. No, you making excuses for your barbarism, and you don't want to pay up. And you scared we're gonna start talking about reparations. Okay, and we are gonna talk about reparations. You better believe that. Okay, so yeah, the catching up, you got to keep that in context with your history and the African American history. Yes, we do have our Obamas, our Michelles, and we have our Oprahs, and we have our Denzels, and all of those great people, you know. But those are the exceptions. That's not the rule. 85 to 90% of African Americans are kicking ass and taking names, not playing around, going to college, doing what they're supposed to do. All you see on the news is the one or two few that are not. But what's going on in our communities, in Chicago, in certain areas of every large urban environment, city, it's undeniable. We got to do a little bit. We can do better than that. We can do better than that. Okay? Another thing is, I'm going to segue into, talking about the community environment. We have to take these teachings and pass them on to our children, including the martial arts and including the righteousness, the path of righteousness, and the importance of that in relation to controlling your beliefs. That balanced kind of thinking and using the power of the mind and controlling your beliefs to bring about what you see in your environment. As we start to teach our children that over generations, a generation is 25 years. So it's going to take, once we employ this big time, about 1,000, 2,000 years, you're going to have Jedis all over the place. All over the place. And it'll be a self-perpetuating thing. You won't have to push this. And you know how young people are. Once they see something that is extraordinary, they're going to all jump on it. You ain't got to worry about it. I'm not even worried about that. And because of young people, I'm not really much worried about anything, because young people going to kick ass and take names. I'm not really worried about it. But I just want to put it out there. Let you know these are the things, so you don't have these false expectations, and especially don't let the news fool you, because they bring up only the worst of us. They're not going to show you the best. They'll trickle around and show, oh, look, we got one that went to college and they're only 15. and they graduated with a master's from college. They'll show you one of those, and then they'll show you 10,000 kids that were in jail and this and that and got whole days. The reverse of what Charles Hannell said. You cannot meditate for 10 minutes on something positive and then spend the other 90% of the time talking about negative stuff and thinking up negative stuff. That's the same thing they're doing with the media. They know how the belief system works. And that's why I say cut that TV off, because it's going to mess with your motivation and it's going to distract you from focusing on getting your belief system developed. We're in the developmental phase here. We're making sausage, folks. I'm introducing these videos, and this is 2019. I'm just doing my videos now. I put some up in 2018, but 2019 is going to be the jump off year for me with these videos. And then a lot of you probably won't get this for another 40, 50 years. Charles Hannell is a perfect example of that. Man was born in 1866, didn't start producing until 1912, and he was a Republican. He died in 1949. So from 1912 to 1949, he offered these teachings to the world. African Americans just were getting the right to read when he was born. So we playing catch up, folks. Everybody else got 200-300 years ahead of us in terms of reading and comprehension skills and all that stuff, And that's why our kids are, to this day, most boys don't want nothing to do with reading. They're so far behind, and that's why you see young, especially you go over to Europe, you go over to France, England, Germany, all the Nordics, Canada, America. You're the newest country on the planet, folks. Even though you got the good stuff with the music and the African Americans pulling America up culturally and artistically and scientifically, the ladies who help with them sending the shuttle up, African Americans, but still America, dragging, scratching, and kicking all the way into civilized society, the modern, upwardly mobile, progressive, civilized societies, scratching and kicking. These Confederates are keeping America so far behind, they're leaving us in the dust. By the time we finally wake up and figure out, get rid of this dumb thing they got in the White House right now in another 2 years, going to take them another year and a half to get rid of his behind. And then we got to catch up to the rest of the folks with solar, all electric vehicles, widespread. China is going to eat us alive. They're going to eat us alive because America is too bogged down in Confederate, Republican, noise, confusion. When we finally stop listening to these insane Republicans, America will then begin to catch up to the rest of the Europeans and folks who got it going on. Watch. And the Chinese are going to lead the way. Watch. Okay, so again, you. That's what God has put into place. Not Jesus. God didn't ask you to give him back the control. He said, you take control. You get your beliefs together. You are the one that he assigned ordered you to control the machine by controlling your beliefs. Whatever you believe, so you shall receive. He didn't tell Jesus to do it. He didn't say he's going to do it. He said you do it. It said you do it. I'm in the habit of saying he. It said you do it. And there's no giving it back. It wasn't a request, it was an order. So that means get this together, do this work and get this together for the rest of this lifetime. That's what you got to focus on and spread it to your children. And hopefully in another 100 or 200, 300 years, we'll start seeing widespread accomplishments. Quantum leaps moving America will actually catch up to the rest of the world. Why you think the Muslims is over there blowing up things left and right in Europe? They're trying to slow them down. Hey, barbarians are saying, hey, they're going to take all our control away. We ain't going to be able to trick these people into to following us over the cliff. Drinking alcohol, getting drunk, think it's cool. Killing up all the animals, poaching, massacring jungle meat in Africa, monkeys, cutting off clitorises of the women, burning their nipples and breasts until they're flat like a man, altering God's creations to fit their brutal beliefs. That's right there in Africa. That's happening. You can't blame white folks for that. And with all the education and information that's out here right now, you can't blame white folks for that. Africans coming over here thinking you're better than African Americans. You better get over there in Africa and get your stuff together. Y'all don't even have roads. Ghana has it, Nigeria has some, but China's coming in building all your superhighways. Why did China got to come do it if you're so great? So don't get into this color thing. It's not going to hold water. In fact, it'll wind up being quite embarrassing. Yes, this forward progress of the society was interrupted by the enslavement and the wars and the with colonialization and all that stuff. Yes, all of those things definitely interfered with the forward motion. But if your culture is strong and together, ain't no amount of interference is going to stop you from getting back on track. How you going to explain that? Okay, so again, I talked about us, using the realization of us actually becoming aware of who and what we really are and how this whole game works, and use that basic elemental knowledge, that the paradigm change in the awareness of that should be your primal motivation for continuing to be better. Doing your meditations, doing the visuals in your mind, training your thought flow, controlling everything that's flowing in this mind. That's going to take a lot of work. But you should be joyful, because now at least you're on the path. At least you're getting something done. Before you were just flapping around in the breeze, believing in some nonsense, some fairy tales of a heaven somewhere and jumping for joy because you go doing like the rest of them and you think you're doing something. You're buying into their game. At the end of that road is a white Jesus that ain't real, a heaven that ain't real, a hell that ain't real, an apocalyptic end of the world that will never happen. You're wasting your time. You need to be focusing on controlling your beliefs and believing in things and getting your beliefs together so that you can start to see this improvement in your entire environment. That's what they're trying to stop you from doing. You, not me. I don't need not Jesus, not God. Yeah, you do it. That's your job. Get back that Bible. Throw that thing out. You get that same training in the Rosicrucian. And in fact, you get more direct training in the Rosicrucian than you would from that doggone Bible. It's full of fairy tale. And while you wasting time reading that crap, babble rhetoric, we call it just empty, nebulous rhetoric. While you wasting time with that, you could be out here learning how to get into some meditation, get into some Tai Chi. You don't have to overtly do it. You don't have to do a whole lot more reading. Just any kind of meditation technique that's going to teach you to control your thought flow. And after you get that training, leave. You have to stay in there all your life and giving them 10%. You get your training and you get out into the world and you start living the truth. To know the truth, you live the truth. Okay? That's what you do with this. And you don't be beholden to nobody except God. And you don't need to spend an inordinate amount of time doing that because God don't need your praise. God is already perfect. Don't need your praise. Take that energy and get you together. Get your children together. Take all that energy and time and stuff you wasting on that. Do it. Spend that energy on something that needs work. Your kids. Take care of your elders. Do your job. Do what you're supposed to do. Focus on righteousness. Take care of the homeless people in your community. Give them clothing. Get out in the street. Make your environment better. That's what you do with that. You ain't got to be a part of no church to do that. You can go right over here to the Goodwill. Salvation Army. Take your pick. Doctors Without Borders. Get out into the world. Take your pick. All right, so use the knowledge and the realization of self-actualization to encourage you and inspire you to continue to do the work to be better. And do your meditations regularly, not religiously, but regularly. If you say you want to do it in the morning, do it in the morning. You're going to do it in the morning and at evening. I always encourage you to do it morning and evening. Wake up in the morning, focus on what it is you want to have manifest in your world. See it, feel it, smell it, feel it emotionally, tactilely, feel it. Imagine yourself petting the animals or whatever, to rubbing your hand across the couches, touching the cars, whatever it is you want in your life. See yourself having it already. Use that tool. That's just one of the tools you're using. Use the meditation, control your breathing, controlling your flesh vehicle. That's what the breathing is teaching you. By you focusing on the breathing, you're controlling on your focus on what you're going to focus on. You decide what you're going to focus on. Nobody else. You. And by doing the breathing, you're going to learn how to do that. Okay? Any and every tool you can get your hands on is going to teach you how to get control of this flesh vehicle. Do it. Long as it's not extreme. Long as it's not asking you to hurt nobody. And long as it's not asking you to let no snakes bite on you. Any stupid nonsense. Nothing stupid. Stay away from stupid. Okay? Now. And another thing I want to bring home is you are an infinite being in a flesh vehicle. That infinite being is directly connected to God. Everything is connected to God, but the intelligence that's in this flesh vehicle thing, the microcosmic being, is infinite. And the reason it's infinite is because it's directly connected to the big dog, which is infinite. Everything connected with the big dog is infinite. The flesh vehicle is connected, but it's designed to be temporary. Who designed it? The big dog. This is called order. And the thing about order, it's not a request. Order means you will do it. Okay? Get your head around that. Whatever God puts into motion stays in motion. You can't change it. But you can get into acceptance. You can easily get into acceptance. And once you get into acceptance, you put it away. You know, your mind is off of it. You don't focus on that. That's how it is. See, acceptance helps you to focus and work on the things you can change. That is, you are authorized by God to change and impact and affect. Focus on that. Okay? Now, I could get into this whole perspective, you know, of macrocosmic being to the microcosmic being, and the whole juxtaposition of now the macro. But it's just a theory that the macro realizes macro because there's a micro now. But that was, again, the macro put all of this in motion. Since talking about it, to me, it gets a little bit too rhetorical. I don't want to talk about that. Okay. All right. So, I'm noticing that everything I'm saying is pointing back to this theme of we're making sausage, folks. It's very important. You got to understand we're making sausage. So what does that mean? That means there's going to be a lot of stuff going on, and it's not going to work out perfectly all the time. Again, this goes back to these false expectations. And there's going to be the doubters, and the people are going to tell you, I don't believe that guy because, hey, look, you didn't do this, you couldn't do that, you can't do that. Yeah. So what? How much stuff we can't do right now? And look how long they've been preaching their crap. Spoons feeding us grain by grain what they want you to have. Instead of teaching you these skills so you can take quantum leaps. They don't want you doing that. They want you to grow at the pace they want you to grow at. You grow at the pace you want to grow at. Okay, I already talked about that we are infinite as microcosmic beings. We can teach our finite form to create wealth, peace in our environment. We talked about that. Yeah, and that's another thing. The one thing about the infinite being almost has no limits. So what we're experiencing right now with this microcosmic, this flesh vehicle and infinite, this human being combo is part of the back and forth and the extrusion of the microcosmic being into existence through the flesh vehicle. There is a back and forth pressure. There's pressure coming from the flesh vehicle because the flesh vehicle has an AI, an autonomic system that is always vying with the microcosmic to stay in control of what's going on in this vehicle. And you got to understand the dynamics of that interplay. There is a dynamic there. That's where you get the good, the bad demon and the good one. Well, the good one is the micro, the bad one is the flesh vehicle. Flesh vehicle is corrupt for days. I mean, because you got to remember, we're making sausage. The flesh vehicle is rough. We just came from being cytoplasmic goo 1 million years ago or so, 200-300 million, whatever it was. But that's a speck in time to an infinite vehicle, infinite being. which is physical on a whole nother level. Got to get into quantum physics to get into all that. But it's a different kind of physical. But this infinite being is not even the physical. It's metaphysical. It's beyond physical. And it propels the physical. Whatever you see physically is propelled by the manipulation of matter by the infinite vehicle, the infinite being, which is directly connected to the big dog and the subconscious at the same time. This is heavy stuff. So it's extruding itself in through this flesh vehicle, trying to, okay, be better, grow better. But it's a infinite perfect being trying to express itself through a imperfect finite being. And we set this up so that there's no getting away from this. It's a part of the order. It's a part of the experience. So even though, yes, there is some negativity at play here, we want that negativity. Because without this negativity, or without this physical, finite, limited being, we are just constantly perfect. And there's no fun in that. So you want to extrude, you want to be extruding into this finite vehicle, this flesh vehicle. That whole process is part of the game, is part of the fun. Because without this flesh vehicle, without this interplay and this life and the trauma and the atrocities and the Confederates and the dummy in the thing doing all of this killing and murdering and encouraging people to kill and murder, as bad as those things are, without those things, the dummy and all that stuff, we won't appreciate life. You have to have murderers and killers out there destroying stuff on a regular basis so you can realize how good you got it. Unless you go, yes, when you get fed up enough, you go and you lop off a couple of their heads and put the fear of God in the rest of them, and so they'll be under control, but they will never go away. They will never go away. And this is one of the things I want to talk about too. You never want, I was listening to, there's another gentleman I wanted to introduce you to. His name is Alan Watts. One of the great thinkers of our time. I bumped into him, and he's been one of the newest people that I've been introduced to in the last 2-3 months. And again, this is 2019. I'm just now getting into this guy. I just got into him back in March. And Alan Watts is a phenomenal English thinker who, again, he supports the concepts and speaks about them in a much more articulate way, in a different way than Eckhart Tolle. I love Eckhart Tolle because Eckhart Tolle is, to me, the master of now. He is really, you want to get into somebody that's going to get you into being present, Eckhart Tolle is the guy to go to. I mean, he really does. He's a master of it. And he does it in a humorous, kind of sophisticated, but yet gentle, but yet at the same time brutally frank, and he's a perfect balance on how he introduces you to it, and how he explains it and expresses it. He's a little guy, and most people, he'll go, most of this stuff will go right over your head. If you're a brute, you won't get it at all. And I can't help you with that anyway. But most of us that are looking at this video will get it. And when you hear Eckhart Tolle, and you can see him, you don't have none of the stuff you have to pay for. People pay hundreds of dollars, and I'll put that up over here somewhere. I'll show you just briefly. I took a screenshot of some of the ticket sales to see Eckhart Tolle. And I just did this like 2 months ago, so this is fresh. People pay $200-300 to go see this guy in stadiums. That's how powerful what he's teaching and how it impacts people. People are willing to spend and sit around, and it's virtually, when you see it, you're gonna say, people pay $200 and $300 for this? Yeah, because what he is introducing people to, one of a kind. What he's doing is on a sophisticated level. Is on the ground. He's on the ground running, bringing people into awareness. All I can say is, you either get it or you don't. You do or you do not. Like I said, those who have eyes shall see. Those who have ears shall hear. That's all I can say. When you're ready, you'll get it. That's just how it works. Okay? But Alan Watts is, what I like about his teaching is more intellectual. It's more scholastic. His teachings about spirituality as opposed to religion. He explains brilliantly how religions have just totally, especially Christianity, has just, ooh, it's just, he tears them apart, and he brings home what I was starting to realize before I even heard about it. I just heard about this guy in March. I remember I've been doing this since I was 22, and I knew something was wrong. And, Charles Hannell and The Secret really began to really open my eyes, along with the Rosicrucians. But what they were teaching was in the world and not of the world, long before I even heard about these. But Rhonda Burns, all of these great thinkers. One of the guys I haven't mentioned, who was like one of my very, very first, I can't think of his name right now, but I can see his face. He just recently passed away about 4 years ago. His name will come to me, and I'll bring it up, and I'll post it up here on the screen for you guys to see. But he was one of the great thinkers, the first guy that I read. I feel bad that I can't remember his name. Let me see if I can pull it up in my book store. All right, let me see. Go to my library. Okay, go back. Where's my library? Uh-oh. Okay. Yeah, Dr. Dwayne W. Dyer. Dr. Wayne Dyer. He was one of the first guys I read a long time ago that really got me on the path to searching out other things, even after I read the Rosicrucian. I didn't really do a lot of Rosicrucian reading, and Rosicrucian reading teachings were more metaphysics. But Dr. Dyer talked about the person and how people, have been falsely trained to think about what and who we are. And he was the first one to, open my eyes to fair-minded white people, a realistic, down-to-earth white people who did not buy into the white supremacy game. And he was the first one. I want to give him credit, But all of these folks, but particularly on a newer front, Neville Goddard, and Charles Hannell, of course, but Rhonda Burns, on and on, all these different people. Brilliant, excellent work. But Eckhart Tolle, Alan Watts, these two cats, they are really, to me, they are major planks on the path of righteousness and connecting you with the real essence of what we are. Eckhart is brilliant at that. Alan Watts is more lecturer, but he helps you to bring you along, kind of baptize you so you can get to the point of where Eckhart Tolle wants to take you, that final step, which is what Jesus was trying to do with people. But he was too far ahead of his time, so they murdered him right away. Uh, and then ran up front to try to give you this whole Bible Christian crap that they created in order to keep you from finding out what Eckhart Tolle is trying to tap you into. And then once Eckhart Tolle taps you into that, he's tapping you into your microcosmic self. That's what he's trying to tap you into. And Rhonda Burns and Charles Hannell and Alan Watts, these people are going to really get your head around the what to do after you tap into this being present concept. And this guy here, L. Ron Hubbard, is going to give you the weaponry and the tools you'll need in order to psychologically go in and clear yourself out. Oh, geez, I've not been looking at my time. I don't know what time oh, boy. Okay, perfect. I'm only 1 minute past the hour. Okay. So this worked out beautifully. Okay. I'm going to wrap it up on this movie, and we're going to go back in on the next movie, and we're going to focus a little more. In each movie, I'm going to try to focus a little bit more on the practical application of all of these teachings and be more realistic, and don't so that you don't want you to have false expectations. I think I drilled that into you for the most part in this movie, but I want to try to give you more information so that you can be more confident as you go down this path, of righteousness and empowerment, and using these skills to further empower yourself in order to be the Jedi and the master that you were born to be. Okay? So one love, family, and I'll see you in the next movie.